Hi guys, welcome ulit sa YouTube channel natin. Now today actually I'm doing a pre-recorded video para sa online class ko sa theory, yung CE 361 namin. Anyway, I'm doing this kasi medyo na behind kami last time kasi medyo nagkasakit ako and then ayun nga, nahirapan ako mag-live. So, I'm doing this as a parang catch-up lang. So, anyway, yung topic namin, trusses na. So, okay na kami sa determinacy. Tapos, nag-review na din kami sa, review lang actually kasi yung analysis of beams. Okay, at saka yung shear moment diagrams, dapat kasi nasa statics and strength of materials na yun, respectively. Yan. So, kaya review na lang. Now, ngayon, magre-review din kami sa itong trusses. Now, again, yung trusses, in fact, last semester, I was able to handle a statics class. Tapos, yun nga, na-discuss ko na to. Itong slides na gagamitin ko actually yung sa statics class ko to. So, gagamitin ko lang to as a review para sa theory of structures na klase namin. Okay? So, I'm actually yung ina-address ko dito is yung mga students ko. Okay? So, feel free to watch na lang din yung mga videos namin. So, structural analysis tayo, guys. And then, yun nga, anyway, this is just a review, no, sa trusses ninyo. So, I expect na natuto na kayo sa trusses during sa statics. Anyway, if ever nakalimutan nyo na, this is just a recall. Okay? So, yun nga, we have this structural analysis. Actually, yung statics na, sa statics kasi na slides to. Anyway, I think definition muna tayo sa truss, counting recall lang. So, a truss is a structure composed of slender members joined together at their endpoints. Now, the members are commonly used in construction. Construction consists of wooden truss or metal bars. Now, anyway, sa statics niyo, siguro 2D lang tayo sa statics na. Ngayon sa theory, I'll try to discuss mga 3D na naman. Okay, 3D trusses at saka 3D frames din. Okay, so we have this a common truss, no. Halimbawa, meron tayong roof truss na I think na-explain na din dati kung ano yung member at saka ano yung joints. Okay, so ang joints, guys, ito yung mga pin, ito yung kung saan nako-connect yung mga members. For example, itong roof truss natin, yan. So sa roof truss na to, yung pins actually ito yan, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we have 7 joints. And then, yung total members natin is ito, yung mga nagko-connect sa joints. So, ito, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Tama. So, 11 members. So, anyway, let's proceed sa next slides natin. Yan. So, before we try to analyze our trusses, let's try to determine muna yung assumptions natin for design. Number 1, all loadings are applied at the joints. So, pag meron tayong trusses dito, okay, sa subjects natin, lahat ng loadings will be applied at the joints. Okay? So, we have concentrated loads applied at the joints. And then the next one is ito. The members are joined together by smooth pins. Okay? Pag sinabing smooth, meaning walang resistance, no? Walang bending moment, ganun. Okay, so this is ginawa to, no, para yung isosolve natin na trusses is actually ideal truss lang. So pag sinabi natin ideal truss, guys, is ito yung walang moment na mag-o-occur sa truss, and then yun nga yung forces that will occur sa trusses natin or sa members ng truss natin, guys, is yung tension and compression lang. Okay, now by tension, ibig sabihin yung internal bar force, no, is away from the body. Ito yun, meaning yung member natin is actually in tension. Okay, it is pulled away, no? And then we have a compression, is yun nga, yung member natin is compressed din. Okay? So again, I think familiar na kayo niyan. Again, this is just a review, guys. So, let's proceed. Yan. So, when we try to analyze yung trusses natin, meron tayong dalawang method actually. Meron tayong method of joints, and then meron din tayong method of section, guys. Now, pag sinabi nating method of joints, now, from the word itself, di ba, naalala nyo pa? We will try to consider every joint to solve the members of the truss. By the way, guys, yung trusses natin, ang hinahanap natin usually is yung mga bar forces along the members ito. Yan, forces natin. For example, meron tayong truss dito. Yan, itong truss na to. So, sa truss na to, guys, meron tayong 3 joints. 1, yan, 2, and then 3. And then, meron din tayong 3 members actually. Ito, member AB, BC, and AC. Now, before we can actually solve, no, or before we can actually analyze our trusses, it is important na alam natin paano i-solve yung reactions. Okay, now anyway, tapos na tayo, no, sa review natin sa beams. Okay, or sa mga rotations natin, yung, equilibrium natin, yung summation of forces vertical, horizontal, and we have summation of moments. Now, likewise, ito din yung gagamitin ninyo, yung equilibrium equations din yung gagamitin natin dito sa trusses. Now, don't worry, yung mga ibibigay ko na trusses actually mga determinate trusses lang. Okay? So, after nyan, once nakuha, sana yung cursor, yan pala. So, once nakuha na natin yung mga external forces or yung reaction, okay, so ang gagawin natin next is to solve the bar forces. Na ito yun. Now, to solve for the bar forces, guys, you have two methods. I hope naalala nyo pa. Method of joints and method of sections. Now, ang method of joints, guys, we'll actually try to consider every joint kung pwede, kung kailangan natin, no, to solve for all the bar forces. Now, minsan, hindi talaga necessary na lahat ng joints. Basta, try lang natin i-consider yung mga joints to solve for the bar forces. Okay, so, for example, ito, yan. Halimbawa, yung joint B. Okay? Tingnan nyo yung joint B. Ito yung joint B, for example, yan. So, considering joint B, tingnan nyo, meron tayong isang force, no? Isang external force, 500 Newton to the right, okay, 500 Newton, and then we have the other, yan, yung mga internal forces natin, yung mga bar force natin, ito yun. We have the bar force BA or AB, yan, pababa, and then the bar force BC, okay? So, guys, yung tinuro ko last time sa statics class ko is always assume, okay? The word there is assume. Always assume muna na yung forces ninyo sa mga sa mga bars, sa members ninyo is in tension, meaning away from the body. So, anong ibig sabihin nun, sir? For example, if I'll try to consider ito yung joint B natin. So, halimbawa, ito yung joint B, no? Yan, joint B. So, meron tayong 500 Newton. So, ang assumption natin, guys, balik tayo yan. Ang assumption natin, yung BA, yung bar force BA is going down. Kasi, tension kasi yan. Assumption man yan. So, this is the FBA. Yan. And then, likewise, yung yung FBC natin, guys, is going away then from our body or away from our joint. So, parang ganito din. Yan. So, this is our F. Yan. Yan yung FBC natin. Okay? So, for now, yan lang muna. Okay? Assumptions nyo yan. Now, anyway, guys, walang problema kasi later on, if you'll try to, if ang sagutin nyo is negative, therefore, mali lang yung assumption ninyo. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, instead of tension, compression. Mas madali kasi yun, guys, na mag-assume kayo na lahat in tension muna at first. Kasi pag meron kayong negative na makuha, and then meaning, lahat ng negative na makukuha ninyo, meaning, compression. Unlike dito, for example dito, alam niya kasi, dito sa figure, alam niya kasi na yung FBA is in tension, walang FBC is in compression. Na kayo, minsan, kahit nga ako, di ba? Minsan nga, ako na hindi ko talaga makikita minsan, no, kung compression ba or tension yung member. So, as much as possible, guys, since baguhan pala kayo, no, or just a review man lang to, no, so, just assume muna na lahat ng members is in tension. Okay? So, after that, tapos na kayo, pag nag-analyze na kayo and then you get a negative answer, it doesn't mean na mali yung sagot mo. It just means na mali yung assumption mo. And then you assumed tension, therefore it is compression. Okay? So, yan actually yung method of joints. Yan. So, we just need to consider every joint and then use our equilibrium equation. Now, unfortunately guys, yung equilibrium equation na magagamit lang natin pag we are trying to use yung method of joints is dalawa lang. Okay, yung summation of forces vertical and summation of forces horizontal. Hindi ka pwedeng mag-moment kasi point lang yung nandyan sa joint mo. You cannot sum up moments dyan. Kasi nga, concurrent kasi yung mga forces mo. So, walang moment na mag-occur. So, since dalawa lang yung equations na pwede natin gamitin, okay, yung summation of forces vertical and summation of forces horizontal, now, dapat din, dalawa lang yung unknowns mo. Ano ibig sabihin nun, sir? Dapat, dalawa lang. Either dalawa yung members mo. For example, itong joint B. Yan. Notice na sa joint B, dalawa yung members. Tingnan nyo, BA and BC. Therefore, you can actually solve yung members BA and BC using the equilibrium equations considering joint B. Okay, bakit? Yan lang, oh. Yan. Dalawa yung unknowns. You also have two equations. Algebra, di ba? Two equations, two unknowns, then you can actually solve your unknowns. Now, sir, paano yan, sir, pag tatlo yung members connected to a joint? Anong ibig sabihin nun, sir? Hindi namin pwede i-consider yung joint na yun. Actually, pwede, but later on na lang yun. Pag nakuha mo na yung force sa isang member. Pag nakuha mo na kasi yung force sa isang member and then meron kang tatlong members, then you can actually consider that joint. Kasi dalawa na naman yung unknown. Dalawa lang naman yung unknown, so you can actually solve even though tatlo yung members. As long as meron ka ng bar force sa, meron ka ng member force sa isang member. Okay? So, yan. So, yan lang. Review lang yan, review. So, anyway, I think problem solving tayo. So, let's try to solve a problem and then we will try to use yung method of joints dito. Okay? So, for example, itong problem na to. Yan. Determine daw the force in each member of the truss as shown in the figure. Yan, ito yung figure natin. And then indicate whether the members are in tension or compression. By the way, guys, importante ito. Maliban sa dapat alam mo kung ano yung forces natin sa members natin, it is important din kung alam mo na tension or compression. Okay? Kasi later on, kailangan natin yan, yung mga tension and compression sa, halimbawa, deflection sa trusses. Later on, we will actually compute yung mga deflections dito. Okay? So, importante na alam mo kung tension ba or compression. So, I think we can actually just solve this. Sige, transfer ko muna, Transfer ko muna dito. So, parang ganito yung truss natin, no? We have yung A, tingnan nyo, yung A is actually a pin. So, dalawa yung reactions dyan sa A. We have vertical. So, I'll just assume na upward. Okay, RA, tawagin ko itong RA. And then, we actually have another horizontal force, no? So, siguro pag ganito na lang, RB. RAY pala to. Yan, RAY. And then, this is our RAX. Okay? Now, yung ruler, tingnan nyo, yung ruler is actually nasa C. Now, may mga nagtanong sa akin, guys, sir, paano mo malalaman, sir, kung ruler ba or hinge ba? Now, tingnan nyo, guys, kung paano nakalagay yung support. Tingnan nyo. Now, and then, para bang, try to imagine, no? Uy, saan yung cursor? Ito pala. Tingnan nyo, kung mapapansin nyo sa A, pin din kasi yan, tingnan nyo, sir, ang usually kasi yung tanong is, akala kasi nila this is actually pin. Although kung mapapansin mo, merong pin dyan, nasanay kasi sila na yung ruler is yung bilog and then nakapatong yung member. Hindi. Actually, pwede yung nakapin dyan. But notice na ang support mo is nakapatong lang dito. Yan, no? And then notice na meron yang, tingnan nyo, merong round, di ba? Round surface dito. And then ito yung surface natin, ground surface. So notice na nakapatong lang actually yung support. Yan. So meaning this is actually a ruler support kasi nakapatong lang yan dito sa surface. Unlike dito, tingnan nyo dito sa support dito, naka-bolt yun, no? Bolted yan sa surface. Meaning you cannot pull it upwards or downwards and then you can actually not move it sideways. Itong C, tingnan nyo, you can actually move this sideways. Kung wala tong A ba, you can actually move this sideways yung C. And then it will move kasi hindi yan naka-bolt dito sa floor yan. Hindi yan naka-bolt dyan. Okay, so you can move this actually. So, ang nire-resist lang nito is actually vertical force. So, hindi yan naka-resist ng horizontal force. Okay? So, anyway, balik tayo dito. So, tawagin ko tong RC. Yan, RC. So, this is B. This is A. And then this is C. We have 45 degrees. Okay, so 2M. Tama, no? 2M and then 2M. So, gaya ng sabi ko, guys, before you can actually solve the members or yung forces in each members of the truss, you need to solve for the external reactions. Okay, now, you can solve that using the equilibrium equations mo. Now, pag nag-solve ka ng mga external reactions, guys, dito pwede mong gamitin yung moments, yung summation of forces vertical, horizontal, and yung moment. But, pag nag-solve ka, pag nag-solve ka per joint, okay, for example, you are considering a joint, you cannot use the summation of moments. Okay? So, pwede mo lang gamitin ito. For example, nag-solve ka ng reactions, external forces, pwede mong gamitin yung summation of moments. Kasi pag nag-solve ka kasi ng reactions, you're actually considering the whole system or the whole structure. Okay? So, merong bending na mangyayari dyan. Okay, it will be resisted dito. Okay, so pwede kang mag-sum up ng moment dito. Okay, so yan. Makukuha mo yung reaction dito. So, let's try to solve. So, I'll try to solve muna yung RC. Gaya nga ng sabi ko, guys, if you will try to solve for the reactions, mag-moment ka, okay, mag-moment ka kung saan yung ibang mga forces will intersect para ma-remove mo yung forces na yun. For example, dito, tingnan nyo, if I will try to solve for RC, yan, if I will try to solve for RC, I will actually sum up moments kung saan yung dalawang reactions mag-intersect, yung RA at saka yung RAX at saka RAY. Dito yan, dito yan nag-intersect. So, dyan ako mag-moment. Kasi, pag nag-moment ako dyan, RAX and RAY will not rotate. Ibig sabihin, hindi yan kasali sa equation ko. So, I'll just sum up moments. So, siguro, summing up moments at... sandali lang ha. So, summing up moments at A is equal to 0 kasi nga equilibrium. Clockwise is equals counterclockwise. Okay, so, ang clockwise moments, nakalimutan ko yung 500 dito. Mayroon palang 500 dito. 500 Newton. So, ang clockwise moment, guys, yung iba siguro nakalimutan na, ang gagawin nyo lang is try to look at this point and then hanapin mo yung mga forces that will cause a clockwise rotation. Tingnan nyo, itong 500, di ba? Yung 500 na yan, that will actually cause, kung halimbawa ito yung A, yung 500 na yan will cause a rotation na pag ganun, di ba? Imagine yung truss mo, di ba? Magro-rotate yan pag ganun. So that is actually a clockwise rotation. So ano yung moment caused by the 500 Newton load with respect to this point? So that is actually 500 times 2. Okay? 500 times 2. And then, I think, meron pa bang ibang clockwise moment dito sa A? Wala na, no? So that is actually equal to our counterclockwise moment. Now, our counterclockwise moment, guys, is obviously itong RC. Okay? Notice na, if you'll try to consider A, if this is A, and then this is, ito yung RC, di ba? RC. It will rotate, it will rotate point A counterclockwise, di ba? So, equate natin. So, ang moment that is caused by RC is simply equal to RC times the moment arm na 2. Okay? So, meaning, we can actually solve our RC. Now, you can use your calculators or cancel out yung 2. RC is actually equal to 500 Newton. Okay? So, if this is 500 Newton, we can actually solve, this time we can actually solve RAY. Now, to solve for RAY, guys, you can actually sum up moments din dito sa C. Bakit? Tingnan nyo, tingnan nyo ha, I'm trying to solve for RAY. If I will try to solve for RAY, I will sum up moments kung saan mag-intersect yung dalawang ibang supports ba? Okay? Okay, so nakuha na natin lang yung RC na 500. Now, gaya nga ng sabi ko, I will try to sum up moments kung saan nag-intersect ang RAX and RC. Kasi I am trying to solve for RAY. So, notice na ang RAX, no? Pag ano, no? By principle of transmissivity, di ba? Pag ganan. And then, ito din. So, they are actually intersecting sa point C. So, to solve for RAY, I can actually just sum up moments sa dito, sa C. But, hindi yan yung gagawin ko. Ang gagawin ko, guys, is I will just sum up forces. Ito. I'll just sum up forces vertical that is equal to 0. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Upward equals downward. Okay? So, ang upward forces, ano yung upward forces? I think dalawa, no? RAY, okay, plus RC. Now, ang RC ko is 500, so, yan, 500 na lang yung ilalagay ko. Okay? Now, that must be equal to the total downward forces. Ano yung downward forces natin? Notice, guys, na wala tayong downward forces. It is 0. Diba? Wala kasi. So, 0 yan. Therefore, ang RAY pala natin, guys, you can actually solve RAY. That is actually negative 500 newtons. Sir, mali ka sir, bakit negative? Now, baka isipin nyo na mali na yung sagot nyo. Hindi ha. Ang ibig sabihin lang yan is mali yung assumption ninyo. Bakit? Ano ba yung assumption ninyo? Ang assumption kasi ang assumption ko kasi dito is upward yung RAY. Which is, hindi pala. Downward pala. Okay? So guys, depende na sa inyo kung i-change ninyo yung assumption ninyo. Pag nag-change kayo ng assumption, therefore, hindi na ito magiging negative. But, gaya na nga sabi ko, as much as possible, just stick with your assumptions but i-retain nyo din yung signs ng mga forces ninyo. Okay? That way, hindi kayo malilito. Okay? Hindi kayo malilito ng pabago-bago ng assumption and then pabago-bago ng signs. Mahihirapan kasi kayo niyan. So, ang gagawin nyo lang is just stick with your assumptions. As long as alam mo na, mali pala yung assumption ko. Anyway, ito lang yung gagamitin ko. Basta, still, stick pa rin ako na negative yung gagamitin ko later on sa mga problem solving. Sa joint. For example, joint A. Yung RAY ko is negative pa din. Okay? So, let's check. So negative 500. Now, I think after nyan, so, nakuha na natin yung dalawang reactions. Pwede na natin kunin yung RAX. So, I think obvious naman, no? RAX, summation of forces horizontal is equal to 0. To the right is equals to the left. Now, ang forces to the right, obviously, we have dalawa. We have the RAX. Okay? And then plus, yung isa. To the right din kasi yung 500. Okay? 500. Now, ang to the right natin, yung to the left natin, unfortunately, wala, no? So, 0. Okay? Therefore, mali din yung assumption ko sa RAX. No? So, dapat to the left pala yung RAX. Okay? So, anyway, wala problema, guys. If yung sagot niyo is actually negative, okay lang. Pakita nyo lang yung, gandahan nyo lang yung figure nyo, yung free body diagram niyo para makita ko kung asan yung assumption niyo. Or, actually, pwede din para hindi kayo mahirapan o hindi ako malito, pwede din ganito lang yung gawin nyo. 500 Newton, and then pwede nyo lagyan na pag ganito. Yan. Yung direction ng force niyo para mas madaling tingnan. Okay? Tapos, hindi na ako malilito kung to the right ba or to the left or upward ba or downward. Now, these are actually yan yung para sa forces. Now, since nakuha na natin yung mga forces, guys, external forces, now, we can actually solve yung members ng yung bar forces natin, yung members ng trusses natin, now, using the method of joints. Okay? So, check muna, we'll try to draw yung bawat joints. Okay? So, i-draw na natin yung joints natin. So, this is joint B. Yan. So, yung joint B natin is ito, 500. Again, we have two members sa joint B. So, tingnan nyo, meron tayong dalawang members sa joint B. So, we have, yung isa is BA. So, tawagin natin F sub BA. Yan, sub BA. And then, yung isa naman is BC. Yan. F sub BC. Okay? So, anyway guys, tingnan nyo, yung assumptions ko, always intention. Okay? Para hindi na kayo mahirapan. Assumption ko muna is intention. And then, let's try to, yung angle natin. So, ang angle natin is 45 degrees. Nandito yun, no? So, sorry. Yan, 45 degrees muna to. Okay? And then, yan lang ata. Sorry. Yan lang ata. May kulang ba? Yan yung joint B natin. Now, let's try to draw joint A. Ang joint A is ito. So, balik tayo dito. So, yan yung joint A, no? Dalawa yung members and then dalawa din yung reactions. Okay? So, try natin i-draw yung joint A. So, yung joint A is, ito yung ginawa ko, no? Sa free body diagram. By the way, guys, sundin nyo yung free body diagram niyo. Huwag kayong magbago ulit ng assumptions. Kung ano yung assumptions nyo sa free body diagram, yan yung gamitin ninyo. Okay? Yan, upward yung RAY. Okay, which is ilalagay ko na lang dito, negative 500 to. Yan, ilalagay ko na lang agad kasi nakuha ko naman yung RAY. And then yung RAX, ilalagay ko din dito. Pag ganito yung RAX ko, no, sa free body diagram ko, check now. Yeah, yung RAX is to the right din. Okay, so this is actually negative 500 din. Okay, and then yung dalawang members, again, intention, so away from our joint. So, that is actually AC. FAC. And then, yung ito, guys, pwede yung tawagin actually FAB. But, pag tinawag mo kasi itong FAB, okay, medyo baka malito ka or baka ma-miss mo ba? Okay, baka kasi isipin mo na iba yung FAB sa FBA. So, ang gagawin natin, guys, since nag-assume na tayo na ang pangalan ng bar force sa BA is actually BA din, so hindi na lang natin tatawagin itong BA. Instead, we will just call this as BA, AB. BA na lang din. Okay, anyway, same lang sila. Okay? So, after nyan, we can actually move on no, sa joint C. By the way, this is joint A. So, ang joint C, ito yung joint C natin. So, meron tayong RBC. Yan. I mean, RC pala. Yan. Ano yung tinawag ko kanina dito? Tama, RC lang pala. Which is 500. So, palitan ko na lang agad pala, no? This is just equal to 500. And then, we have our FBC. And then, we have our FAC. Notice now, same lang sila. Okay, ito at saka ito, same lang. Similarly, ito at saka ito. Now, anong ibig sabihin nun pag same, sir? So, notice na tatlo yung unknowns natin. We have the bar, we need to solve for the bar force BA, BC, and AC. Now, sir, kailangan ko ba talaga i-consider yung lahat ng joints? Na actually, hindi. Notice na if you try to consider joint C, you can actually solve BC and AC. Di ba? Kasi dalawa lang yung unknown sa joint C. So, you can actually consider joint C to solve for BC and AC. Now, if na-solve mo na yung BC and AC, actually, pwede na natin i-solve. Yung kulang na natin is yung BA, di ba? So, you can just consider either B or A to solve for the bar force AB. Anyway, dalawa bar force BA. Anyway, yung joint B, dalawa lang yung unknown. Yung joint A, dalawa lang din ang unknown. So, equal lang din actually yung, you can actually just solve no using your equilibrium equation. So, siguro I'll just consider muna yung, ito, yung unang i-consider ko is yung A kasi medyo madali kasi yung A. Okay? So, if I'll try to consider yung A, tingnan nyo, considering joint A, so, lagyan ko lang at joint A. At joint A, so if I will try to sum up, ano ba yung sum up ko dito? Forces vertical muna. Summing up forces vertical is equal to 0. Upward is equals downward. Okay? So ano yung forces upward, guys, looking at joint A? Now, from my figure, ang forces upward, guys, is ito, yung FBA. Di ba? Upward kasi, from the figure. FBA is upward. And then, actually, yung ito, yung R, ito ba? Yung R, ano yan? Yung RAY ko, upward din kasi yan. Okay, but, so, i-plus ko din yan, actually, plus RA, di ba? RAY. Kasi upward din yan. Okay? And then, yung downward, unfortunately, wala tayong downward considering joint A. By the way, guys, pag na-consider tayo sa joint A lang ha. Huwag mong tingnan yung ibang joint. So, ito lang. Yan, ito lang yung titingnan mo, yan. Huwag mong tingnan yung iba. Okay, stick to one ka. Okay, so, upward, yan, FBA, and then, another upward is yung RAY. So, dapat equal yan sa downward. Na, unfortunately, wala tayong downward force, so 0 yan. Now, let's try to substitute yung mga nakuha na nating values. Obviously, FBA is still an unknown, di ba? Yung FBA nga yung hinahanap natin. And then, yung RAY pala is nakuha natin on negative 500. So, ilagay mo dyan yung negative 500. See? Niretain ko yung negative sign. Bakit? Niretain ko din kasi yung assumption ko na upward. Kahit alam ko na mali na upward. Kahit na alam ko na downward pala. Okay? So, knowing that, pwede ko nang isolve yung FBA. Ibig sabihin, yung FBA pala is equal to 500 Newton. Bakit? I-transpose nyo yung negative 500 sa kabila. So, magiging 500 Newton. So, ano ibig sabihin nun, sir? Positive. Ano ibig sabihin ng positive? Positive means tama yung assumption mo. Again, guys, hindi dahil positive, automatic intention, hindi. Positive kasi tama yung assumption mo. Okay? So, ano yung assumption mo? Tension. Ibig sabihin yung FBA, tension pala. Importante yan ha, importante yan if you will try to solve for trusses. Hindi dahil positive, tension, or negative compression, hindi. Depende yan sa assumption mo. Kung positive, means tama yung assumption mo. Kung negative, mali yung assumption mo. So, try to ask yourself, ano nga ulit yung assumption ko? So, yun yung mag-determine kung tension ba or compression. Okay? So, I think okay na tayo, no? Meron na tayong na-solve isa, FBA. So, let's try to solve the other bars. The other members. Now, I need to solve for FBC and FBC and AC. So, if I will try to solve for FBC and FAC, I think mas maganda na I'll just consider joint C. Kasi sa joint C, andyan yung dalawa kong unknown. Okay, yung FBC at saka FAC. Actually guys, kulang pa pala, no? When we consider joint A, ang ginawa natin is summation of forces vertical lang. So pwede pala tayo mag-summation of forces horizontal is equal to 0. That is actually to the right equals to the left, or to the left equals to the right. It won't matter. Same lang yung sagot mo. Okay? So, let's try to check daw yung joint A natin. Again, ito pa din yung joint A natin. Try to look at your joint A and then, ano yung mga forces to the right? Now, the forces to the right is number 1 is yung RAX. And then, plus, yung FAC, notice na ang FAC is actually to the right din. So, yan. RAX plus FAC. Now, that must be equal to the forces to the left. Okay? So, that must be equal to the forces to the left. So, ano yung forces ko to the left? So, this is actually equal to 0. Wala kasi akong forces to the left considering joint A. Okay? Now, since that is 0, anong ibig sabihin nun, sir? So, substitute ko muna. Ano yung RAX ko? Negative 500. Yan. Negative 500. Ano yung FAC ko? That is actually our unknown. And then that is equal to 0. Therefore, I can actually solve FAC. FAC. That is actually equal to 500 Newton. Positive din kasi we will try to transpose negative 500 sa kabila. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, 500 Newton na yan. Tension, compression. Okay? Now, again, positive means tama yung assumption mo. Ano ulit yung assumption mo? Tension. Di ba? Yan yung maganda guys, pag nag-assume ka na lahat ng members mo na is in tension. Kasi pag positive yung sagot mo, automatic tension. Tapos pag negative, compression. Unlike na pag, siguro, I think, tension to, so away. And then ito, I think, compression ata to kasi top chord or bottom chord. So, ayan, towards the joint na lang. So, and then later on, malalaman mo na, negative yung sagot mo. Now, pag negative yung sagot mo, you cannot easily say na, negative compression to. Kasi meron ka kasing assumptions na compression. So, pag assumption mo compression, and then ang sagot mo is negative, meaning, tension pala yun. So, nakakalito na. So, I suggest, assume all members in tension, and then once na-solve mo na lahat, see to, kung ano yung negative signs, automatic yan yung compression. Kung ano yung positive signs, automatic yan yung tension. Okay? So, anyway, I think okay na tayo. Nakuha natin yung FBA or FAB na tension. So, we have this. Ito is one answer. And then, yan. And then, yung next is yung FAC. Nakuha din natin. That's actually yan. And then, ang kulang na natin is yung FBC. Now, ang FBC, guys, is depende na sa inyo kung ano yung i-consider ninyo. So, pwede nyo i-consider yung, ito yung joint B or yung joint C. So, I'll just try to consider yung joint C na lang kasi mas maganda ata tingnan yung joint C. So, joint C na lang. So, if I will try to consider joint C, so ito yung i-consider ko, ito yung i-consider ko. I will try, of course, I'm trying to solve for BC, di ba? So, if I will try to solve for BC, obviously, yung component ng BC ang gagamitin ko, which is meron siyang component upward. By the way, components, I hope na-discuss na yan sa statics ninyo, yung horizontal and vertical components. Okay, so I will try to sum up forces vertical equal to 0, upward equals downward. Okay, so ano yung forces upward considering joint C? Obviously, yung forces upward is itong, by the way, meron yung angle, 45 degrees. Yan. So, yung BC is actually upward yan. Kaso nga lang, inclined, di ba? So, meron yung component upwards, di ba? So, how to solve for the component? Madali lang, no? Ilagay mo lang dyan, FBC. Pero meron kang either sine or cosine of the angle or a ratio of a triangle given. Now, in this case, yung given kasi natin is angle. So, ang gagamitin natin is angle din. So, sine or cosine. Now, again, ito yung tinuro ko sa mga students ko dati. If I will try to solve for a component na walang angle in between, tingnan nyo ito yung FBC. Yan. Ito yung F and then ito yung angle, 45. Ito yung component. Meron siyang component na Y and then meron siyang component na X. Now, yung iba kasi, yung sinasabi ng iba na basta y, automatic sine, and then basta x, automatic cosine. Hindi ha. Depende yan sa location ng angle mo. Okay? Depende yan sa location ng angle. Now, kung ang angle mo is nandito sa ibaba, okay, ang x cosine. Bakit? Kasi yung component kasi na merong angle in between ninyo, pag ang component na hinahanap is yung katabi ng angle, ito ba? For example, ito yung resultant, and then ito yung 45 degrees. So, ang hinahanap ko is yung fx. Since ang angle is nandyan between the resultant and the component, ang fx ko guys is actually f cosine of the angle 45, or kung anong angle man yan. Okay? Similarly, yung y ko is actually f sine of 45 kasi walang angle in between. Yan yung tinuturo ko sa students ko para hindi na sila mahirapan if angle yung given. And then, meron din ako shortcut na tinuro if ever, yung bang maliit na triangle. Minsan kasi guys, yung binibigay sa bar forces natin is, for example, ganyan, F. Di ba triangle yung binibigay? Yan. Minsan, ano yung binibigay? 3, 4, 5, di ba na triangle? So, yun nga, meron na ako tinuro sa kanila. No? Kasi yung iba dyan, ang ginagawa nila is sinusolve pa nila yung angle, which is redundant na kasi binigyan ka na ng sides. So, just gawin mo lang yung ratio and proportion na lang ng sides. Anyway, later on na lang yan pag meron tayong nakitang problem na triangle yung given. So, yung upward component is FBC sine 45. Okay? And then, yan ang ata, no? So, I think meron pa bang ibang upward? So, ang isang upward is actually itong 500. So, plus, since upward yan, that's actually plus 500. Okay? Or yung RCY. So, that is actually equal to our downward forces. Yan. So, this is actually equal to 0 kasi unfortunately, considering joint C, wala tayong downward force. Okay? So, we can actually just use our calculator. So, to solve for FBC. So, check na yung calculator natin. So, FBC or X sine 45. By the way, make sure na degree yung angle ninyo. So, yung iba dyan, ang ginagawa is shift solve, di ba? Nagsi-shift solve pa kayo na minsan, redundant na yung shift solve kasi you can just use this, yung basic algebra lang ba? So, pag nag-shift solve kayo, anyway, makukuha nyo yung sagot na negative 707.1 Newton. Okay? So, ito yung sagot natin. Anyway, you can just use basic algebra. So, transpose mo yung 500. I-transpose natin yung 500. So, magiging negative 500. And then, divide that by sine 45. Same pa din yung makukuha nating sagot. Okay? So, depende na sa inyo kung ano yung gagamitin ninyo. Okay? Yung iba kasi nasanay na gumamit ng shift solve. Now, by the way guys, take note. Negative yung, tingnan nyo, negative yung sign natin. Anong ibig sabihin nun, sir? Mali yung sagot mo? Again, hindi. Therefore, FBC is actually in compression. Okay? So, FBC is actually in compression. So, same pa din, 707.1 Newton, but that is actually in compression. So, by the way guys, kung sa mga plates natin later on, sa mga problems at saka quizzes natin, if yung sagot ninyo, kasi notice na sa problem, sinabi din kasi na indicate whether the members are in tension or compression. So, ang gagawin natin guys is, lagyan nyo na lang siguro ng subscript or ganito na lang. So, yung summary ninyo, ang FBA, maglagay kayo ng summary siguro para hindi na ako mahirapan. Ano nga ulit yung spelling ng summary? Yan ba yun? Naku po, mali pala. sorry. Tanggalin natin. So, we have SUMMARY pala. Anyway, buti na lang, no? Problem solving yung subject natin, hindi spelling. So, anyway, let's proceed. Yung summary natin, FBA. So, ang FBA natin magiging 500 Newton. And then we have in tension. Again, bakit tension? Kasi positive. Again, sir, akala ko ba, sir, pag positive, hindi necessary tension. Now, dito sa solution ko, ang tension, automatic, ang positive, automatic tension. Kasi lahat ng assumptions ko, in tension kasi. So, meaning, pag positive, tension. So, same din, ang FAC. Lagay nyo lang dyan, FAC. 500 Newton, that is actually in tension din. And then, we have, yung last is yung FBC. is actually 707 Newton. That is actually in compression. Okay, or 707.1 Newton in compression. So, yan lang guys. So, that is actually our method of joints. Now, baka isipin nyo, sir, ang dali ng example mo, sir, tapos ang hirap ng mga exam. Actually, hindi. Ang ituturo ko, of course, is yung, baka kasi isipin, yung iba kasi dyan, yung sinasabi na, ang iba yung example, iba yung exam sa example. Now, actually, ang ituturo natin sa examples, yung mga principle lang. Okay, yung principle. So, once natuto na kayo sa principle, kahit paano pa yung mga exam, as long as, of course, related. Hindi naman pwede na trust yung diniscuss ko, tapos I'll try to, bibigyan ko kayo ng exam na beams, diba? So, hindi pwede. So, bibigyan ko din kayo ng exam ng trust. Now, depende na kung mahirap ba, madali, but, I'll make sure na masosolve na nyo yun using the methods of, for example, dito, method of joints. So, yun yung gagamitin ninyo. Now, same pa din, basta tandaan nyo lang, always try to consider a joint na dalawa ang unknown. If tatlo ang unknown sa joint na yan, lipat ka sa ibang joint. Okay? Humanap ka, okay, ng joint na dalawa muna yung unknown. Tapos, doon ka magsimula. And then, yun nga, domino effect na. Once, okay, after nito, yung katabi. After nyan, yung katabi. Ganon. Okay, until such time, you can actually solve all the bar forces doon. Okay? So, yan for the method of joints. Now, anyway, meron pa tayong mga ibang slides dito. Check na natin. Yan, ito. So, itong slide na to, same pa din. Just use a method of joints. So, check natin dito. So, kuha ko ng new slide, note. So, if I'll try to solve this, so, isusulat ko muna, ito yung truss natin. So, same pa din guys, determine the force in each member. So, anyway, hindi ko na lang isosolve yung each member talaga. Ipapakita ko na lang kung paano ko to isosolve if ever ako yung magsosolve. So, anyway, I'll try to draw muna yung truss. Paano ba to? Pag ganun, no? Yan, and then we have this. Tama. And then, notice na ang A, tingnan nyo guys, baka isipin nyo sir, ano to sir? Uy, asan yung cursor? Ay, sorry. Ito pala. So, sir, tingnan nyo sir, pin man to sir. So, dalawa yung reaction, hindi. Pin yung support, nandyan, nakapin yan. Pero notice na nakapatong lang yan, no? Nakapin yung support dito sa joint. Okay, but nakapatong lang yan. So, ruler pa din yan. Okay? Ruler yan. Unlike dito, tingnan mo. Okay, nakapin talaga siya dito sa surface. Okay, so dito, ito pin talaga to or hinge to. And then ito, ruler na lang to. Okay, so since ruler yan, we have a upward reaction dito. Tawagin natin yung RA. And then we have a 400 Newton dito sa baba. 400 Newton. Okay, and then we have ano to? RC. RCX and then RCY. RCY. Again, assumptions ko lang yan ha. Hindi ko alam kung tama ba yung location. I mean, yung assumption ko. Okay? So, yan. So, anyway, we have, letters pala ng joint. So, A, B, C, and D. Yan. Okay, so anyway, we have 4 joints. Notice joint A, B, C, and D. And then we actually have ilang members? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, meron tayong 5 members din. Now, same pa din guys. First is you need to solve for the reactions. Okay, so you need to solve for RA, RCY, and RCX muna. Now, obviously, you can solve RA by summing up, moments dito sa, dito. Ay, sorry. Pwede kang mag-solve sa RA pag nag-sum up ka ng moments dito. Okay? And then, you can then solve the rest, using summation of forces horizontal or summation of forces vertical. Now, ang next is, for example, nakuha na natin yung mga reactions. Ano yung susunod? Okay? Now, malamang ang gagawin nyo is ito. No, you will try to consider agad-agad, mag-consider ka agad ng joints. Now, before you can consider a joint, guys, always remember na, gaya ng sabi ko, mag-consider ka ng joint na first, dalawa lang muna yung unknown. And by unknowns, meaning dalawa muna yung member. Considering na nasolve na natin yung reactions. Now, anong joints dyan? Anong joint dito? Okay, sa figure natin, anong joint ang dalawa ang members? Now, obviously, yung joint A, dalawa ang members, members AB and AD. And then, joint C, dalawa din actually ang members CB and CD. So, it means na pwede kang magsimula either sa dalawa. Either joint A or joint C. Now, sir, anong mangyayari sa B and D, sir? Now, ang B and D, guys, you can still solve this. Although, tatlo yung sa inyo. You cannot consider, hindi mo pwede i-consider agad yung B kasi tatlo kasi yung unknown. Now, pwede actually, guys, but yung equations mo, medyo, you cannot solve directly ba using the two equilibrium equations. Okay, so mahihirapan ka. So, ang gagawin mo, guys, is consider mo na ang A and C. Okay, and then, for example, gusto ko sanang i-consider yung joint B. Kaso tatlo yung so hindi pwede, sabi ni Sir. Okay, so ang gagawin ko, I'll just consider yung neighboring joint when adjacent joint sa joint B, which is either joint C or joint A or joint C. Now, if I'll try to consider joint A, actually pwede, no? So, pwede. So, if I'll try to consider joint A pala, ito ang joint A, I can actually solve AB and AD. Okay? Now, pag na-solve ko na, guys, ang AB, dun, pwede ko na i-consider ang joint B. Bakit? Kasi ang joint B, dalawa na lang ang unknown. Sabi mo, sir, tatlo yung unknown sa joint B. Yes, tatlo. Di ba? BC, BD, and BA. But, since na-solve ko na ang joint AB dito, ang joint A, I can actually have the value of BA. Therefore, dalawa na lang yung unknown ko. BC and BD. Okay? So, anyway, bibigyan ko kayo sa slides nito. Try nyo i-practice to kung makukuha nyo ba yung answers dito. Okay? Uy, sorry, hindi nakita dahil sa yan. Yan yung answers actually. So anyway, ibibigay ko to yung handouts natin sa inyo and then try to check kung makukuha nyo ba yung sagot. Okay? So, let's proceed muna sa next slides. Okay, so tapos na tayo sa method of joints. Let's proceed sa method of sections. Now, by the way, guys, before pala tayo mag-proceed sa method of sections, let's try to take note dito meron tayong mga shortcuts. Hindi naman shortcuts, para bang reminders lang, no? Meron kasi tayong mga tinatawag na zero bar force or zero force members. Now, itong mga zero force members, maganda to if you're trying to solve yung lahat ng members, or if you're trying to consider yung method of joints. Actually, pag zero force member kasi, obviously, since zero, walang silbi yan. I mean, hindi naman walang silbi. Siguro nandyan yan for stability or for stability siguro. And then, zero yan. So, ibig sabihin, pag nag-consider ka for every joint, you can just neglect that member. Okay? So, check na natin dito. So, zero force members. Yan. Truss analysis using the method of joints is greatly simplified if we can first identify those members which support no loading. Tama nga, di ba? So, pag wala kasing loading, mas madali kasi. Okay? I mean, pag alam natin na walang loading, tatanggalin natin ba? Okay, mas madali. Tingnan nyo. Truss analysis using method of joints is greatly simplified. Greatly. Okay? Gaano kaya ka-great, no? So, anyway, greatly simplified now if we can first identify those members which have no loading. Again, may mga members talaga na walang loading. Okay, tingnan nyo. These zero force members are used to increase stability. Okay? Pwede kasing hindi stable yung truss mo if ever wala tong member na to. Ganon. But although walang silbi yung member, although walang force yung member dyan, that is para sa stability. Okay, tingnan nyo. Stability of truss during construction and to provide added support if the loading is changed. Now, if the loading is changed, so of course, mababago yung support, and then ito, pwedeng hindi na siya actually zero force member. For example, itong load pin nandito na sa itaas, so pwedeng hindi na. Now, let's try to remember ito. Ito yung first condition, tingnan nyo. If only two non-collinear members daw form a truss, if only two by the way, alam nyo yung non-collinear? Okay, by the way, ang collinear is same line. Okay? Okay? Ang collinear is same line. Ang concurrent is same point. Now, if you'll try to consider a joint, again, na-discuss na to sa statics niya, just a review. If you'll try to consider a joint, lahat ng mga forces dyan, concurrent. But hindi yan collinear. Kasi ang collinear is the same line. For example, check natin dito. Ito. For example, meron kang joint na ito. Ang collinear is yung FAB. For example, yan. And then we have FAC. Yan. These forces are actually collinear at the same line. Kahit na pangit ng line. Kahit na iba yung direction, yung isa to the left, yung isa to the right, they are still collinear. Now, ang condition dito, sa slide natin, sinabi na non-collinear. Ano yung non-collinear? Ganito. Yan. If this is AB, so this is FAC. Yan. Ibig sabihin yan. Both are concurrent but they are not in the same line. So, they are non-collinear. Okay? So, check na natin yung condition niya dito. Now, if only two non-collinear members form a truss joint and no external load or support reaction is applied to the joint, the two members daw must be zero force members. Now, let's try to check dito. Ano yung joint na merong only two members and then dapat non-collinear sila kasi pag collinear sila malamang may force diyan. Pag non-collinear, yun, walang force diyan. So, consider joint F. Ilan yung members? 3. Hindi na pwede. Okay? Hindi na pwede. Hindi pasok ko. Now, consider joint E. Lalo na, 4 yung members sa joint E. Consider joint B. 4 din. Hindi pwede. Joint C, 3 din. So, hindi din pwede actually. So, again, tingnan nyo yung joint D. Ilan yung members sa joint D? 2. Diba? 2 yung members sa joint D. Ilan yung, tama na, 2 yung members. Meron bang force acting at joint D? Wala, diba? No, sir. Ano to, sir? Itong PO, diba, sir? Nag-a-act man yan sa joint D? Hindi, ha? Yung P is actually acting at joint C. Huwag yung ilipat yung P. Andito yung PO sa joint C. So, joint D is actually non-collinear. Yung joint D actually has 2 members, only 2 members, and then they are actually non-collinear. Therefore, yung bar force natin for ED and DC are actually 0. Ano lang, di ba? Kung ganito lang sana, yung exam natin, what is the bar force at ED and DC? Yan. So, 0 yung sagot mo. So, tapos pag sinabi daw na bakit, so yan yung sagot mo. You know? Kasi sir, non-collinear, tapos 2 lang, di ba? So, yan. Anyway, bakit, paano ba nangyari yan? Ganito kasi yan, guys. Pag non-collinear, tapos 2, tingnan niya. For example, ito. Ganito na lang. Yan. For example, yung dalawang yan. FAB. These are actually, and then FAC. Di ba parang ganyan yung orientation natin. So, if I will try to sum up forces vertical is equal to 0, upward equals downward. Ano yung force upward? FAB. Ano yung force downward? Wala. Kaya 0. Ganun yun. Sorry. Mali. Sorry. So, ganito, ito yun. For example, meron kang FAB. Wag na lang, baka kasi isipin nyo, sir, 90 degree kasi yan. Sige, gawin natin hindi 90 degrees. Gayahin natin yung orientation dito. Yan, gayahin natin dyan, yung orientation dyan. So, parang ganito yan, Yung isa is pababa, at yung isa naman ito. And then this is actually angle theta. So, this is DC, and then this is DE. Okay? So, I will try to sum up forces horizontal muna. Sum up ako ng forces horizontal is equal to 0 to the right equals to the left, no? So, ano yung forces ko to the right? Meron akong forces to the right? Wala. Di ba? Wala akong forces to the right. 0. Ano yung forces ko to the left? Meron ba akong forces to the left? Meron actually. Ito, yung component ng DE. Okay, so meaning, FDE, and then you are given an angle. So, ano yung gagamitin mo? Sine, cosine. Now, I'm asked for a horizontal component dito sa DE. So, kung mapapansin nyo, walang angle between the horizontal component and the DE. So, since walang angle, ang gagamitin ko is sine. Okay? Sine theta. Now, 0 is equals FDE sine theta. Ano yung what can you conclude with that? No? So, meaning, FDE is simply equal to 0. Ganun lang. Now, if ang FDE mo is 0, obviously, FDC is 0 din. Wala nang you don't need to solve, no? Obviously, pag 0 yan, ibig sabihin 0 yun din yung FDC. Wala yung magkukos ng equilibrium yung FDC. Wala. 0 din yan. You can actually sum up forces vertical, and then you can check na 0 yan. Okay? So, yan yung theory behind that. Okay? So, I hope okay kayo dyan sa explanation na yan. So, okay na tayo doon. So, anyway, notice na ang joint A din actually, ang joint A, dalawa yung members, and then non-collinear din. So, AF and AB are actually indeterminate. Indeterminate, sorry, are actually zero force members. Okay? So, I think, check na natin. Meron pa atang isa? Yan, meron pa palang isang condition. Now, maliban sa two members and then non-collinear, okay, maliban doon, we actually have another condition then. Ito. Now, ang condition na to, we have, if three members daw form a truss joint for which two of the members are collinear, if three members form a truss joint for which two of the members are collinear, the third member daw is a zero force member, provided no external force or support reactions as a component that acts along this member. Sir, ano ulit, sir? So if three members, so kanina two members yung required, no, for a joint. Ngayon, dapat tatlo daw ang member. But sa tatlong members na yon, dapat ang dalawa collinear. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Dapat daw ang dalawa collinear. For example, meron akong tatlong members. Yan. Ay, sorry. So, pasok siya kasi meron akong tatlong members. Ay, sorry, yan pala. Yan, meron akong tatlong members. So, pasok siya. But, actually, meron pang next condition. Dapat daw, sa tatlong members na yan, dalawa ang collinear. Now, I'll ask you, meron ba collinear dyan? I think walang collinear, no? Lahat although kung lahat non-collinear yan. They are not on the same line. Tingnan nyo, iba-iba yung line. Okay? So, ang ibig sabihin pala nun is parang ganito. Yan. Ganito pala yung example. Ganyan. So, tingnan nyo. Tatlo ang members, ang dalawa collinear, di ba? Ang dalawa collinear, ang isa, yan. Kawawa yung isa, no? Wala siya sa line. So, anong mangyayari doon? So, pag ganun daw, tingnan nyo, the third member daw is automatic zero force member. Provided, say pa din na walang force dito sa joint at saka walang external force or reaction dyan, and then wala din actually support dyan. Okay? So, I think okay lang, no? Mas madali man lang intindihan, di ba? So, yeah. So, yan yung zero force members. Okay? So, magagamit natin yan later on. For example, ito. And then you are asked to solve for the bar forces of every member. So, let's try to check daw kung magagamit natin yung zero force member dito. So, first, hanapin natin, ito, joint A, automatic, pag merong external force, automatic, hindi natin pwedeng gamitin yung either sa dalawa, yung conditions. Kasi, sa dalawang conditions, dapat kasi walang external force. So, since may reaction, hindi pwede ang joint A and joint B. Similarly, hindi din pwede ang joint P kasi meron siyang load dyan. Okay, load P. And then, next is ito. For example, yung joint D. Ang joint D, tatlo yung members, no? Tama, tatlo. So, okay. Ang dalawang members, collinear. Tingnan nyo. Members DE and DC are actually, members DE and DC are actually collinear. Therefore, DA is a zero force member. Okay? DA is a zero force member. Likewise, tingnan nyo, ang CA, tingnan nyo, DC and CB is collinear. So, CA is actually a zero force member. Kasi wala namang external force sa D and C. So, sir, bakit pa nakalagay yan? Now, try to imagine your truss. Tingnan mo yung truss mo. Tingnan mo mabuti yung truss mo. Kung walang AD and AC, malamang, okay, unstable yan. Diba? It will, parang magbe-bend yan. Okay, magbe-bend yan. Lalo na pag ang load is pag ganon, to the right, wala. Okay, unstable yung truss mo. So, kaya, nandyan yung mga zero force members for stability. But, hindi ibig sabihin na meron agad silang mga bar forces. Okay? So, pwedeng zero yan. Nandyan lang yan for stability. Okay? So, yan. I think okay na tayo sa method of joints kasi na-discuss ko na din yung para sa zero force member. So, I think let's move on sa method of sections. Now, ang method of sections, guys, I think sa next video na lang kasi medyo kukulangin tayo ng oras. Okay? So, it's been 1 hour na siguro. So, sa next video na lang. So, maraming salamat sa panonood. And of course, yun nga, sa mga students ko, I hope na nanood kayo. And then, sa mga hindi ko students, sa mga nagkukuha din ng online class sa theory, I hope na nakatulong ako. Theory, actually, pwede din itong i-apply sa statics but hindi ko talaga detalyadong na-discuss kasi nga review lang to para sa theory nila. Okay? So anyway, yan lang muna para sa method of joints. And then next video is para sa method of sections. Maraming salamat sa panonood. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. Sige, salamat. If ever nakatulong, okay? Pag hindi nakatulong, wag na lang. Okay, but pag nakatulong, like nyo din at subscribe, ha? Sige, salamat.